Hello, fellow Crusaders, and welcome to another episode. My name is Sean Waskrug, and as always is Brian Michaels. And in case you guys are wondering, no, these shades are not for style. Sean has a massive migraine that these basically help dim the lighting so that way I can function like a human being. That's what you get with 12 concussions from pro wrestling. So, yay. But the show must go on. Reason why we are shooting this, there's a movie that came out this weekend that we did not expect anything from, but we felt like we had to talk about it. And also, Brian mentioned this last week. He went to what's it called?
It depends on who you ask. It's Beyond Fest is an LA festival. They started one this year. Is the first time they've done one in Chicago, which I've heard called Beyond Fest Chicago. I've also heard it just called Beyond Chicago. So it's one of those two.
Yes. So he got to see a few movies, not as many as he'd like to have seen, but he got to see a few movies. So we're going to have some mini reviews. Most of these movies are coming out in the next month, maybe a little longer.
Most of them in the next month or two, yeah.
Yeah, so we got a few reviews here, as well as a special one that Brian and I definitely are going to have a dual review on. So a lot of this is going to be Brian talking and me asking questions. And then, of course, we'll have our big duo review at the end. But before we jump into the actual movies themselves, how was the festival? Was Chicago prepared for something like this, or was it not? How was it overall?
You know, this is the first time I've actually gotten to attend an actual film festival, and that because they have some in Chicago. They have the Chicago Critics Film Festival. There's an international film festival kind of thing, but that tends to be a lot of really small, obscure things like that. I think there's a horror one that happens. I'm not sure if it's every year, but I haven't been able to make it into that one. So I was really excited to go to this one. It's now this one wasn't like Sundance or some of these other ones that they take over 10 theaters in town and have shows at all at once. This was all at one theater. It's called the Music Box. It's like one of your old style, it's not even stadium seating. It's you got to watch, kind of look above the person's head in front of you to see the screen. But it's a massive theater. They actually have a second screen which only has 70 seats in it. They had some smaller films in that, which I'll talk about a couple of those. But so it's just in the one theater. It ran pretty well. I mean, I didn't like waiting outside in the line in the cold for the next movie because they didn't really have room inside their building to have lines inside.
Was it cold?
But I thought it was organized pretty well. It's a great first one, and they said if this first one does well, they're hoping to come back and do it again and maybe even expand it further next year, which I'm really looking forward to. So all in all, I'd say it was a success.
Was it cold there?
It was not. It's not like winter Chicago cold. But it did take a turn. It's earlier in the week, it was 75 degrees out. And then now we have highs of 45 or 50. And so, which is fine, except when you're outside and it's 30 something and you're all standing up there. And we weren't all dressed for winter because it's winter's over, right?
Yeah. I was wondering when you mentioned it to me, I was like, it's fucking 80 degrees here. So it's what cold are we talking about? So
it has been in the past week, the past couple weeks here in Illinois, it goes 72, 75 degrees for a day, and then it goes back down to 30 or 40, and then it's back up to 65 or 80 even in one day, and then it's back down to 40. I'm what is going on? It's spring in Chicago. What do you want?
Gotcha. So, what movies did you end up seeing?
I like you had mentioned, I didn't end up seeing nearly as many as I wanted to. Some of it was just logistics. In terms of my time, or they had movies, like I said, there was two different screens, so there's movies overlap, so you kind of had to choose which one you wanted to see. And then also just in terms of travel and things like that, I had to leave earlier. I didn't get to stay for any of the ones today. So I will say the only one that I really wanted to see today that I missed out on was called Ikatan Dara, which is a first movie from Iko Uwais from the Raid. He started his own production company to make those kind of Indonesian action movies. This one looks really good. I didn't get to see it, so hopefully it'll come on, VOD or in theaters soon.
Wasn't over our dead body or over her dead body supposed to be today too, and you didn't get to see that?
That one was premiering tonight. That one was sold out. I couldn't even go into that if I wanted to. Actually, no. I mean, it did sell out, but the reason I wasn't going is because that was at the same time as Ikatan Dara, which I wanted to see more because I know Over Your Dead Body is coming out this week, next week. Very soon.
Around that.
So I was prioritizing the one that I might not get a chance to see, but I didn't get to see it anyway. So yeah, I didn't get to see that one. There's also the new horror movie Faces of Death. That was going to premiere tonight. But that one again is coming out in a week or two. So if I want to see that one in theaters, I can. But the ones I did see, they had a pretty good variety of. There was some new movies premieres. Nothing huge. It wasn't blockbusters. but some interesting movies. And they had a lot of like retro screenings of older things, everything from Speed Racer to like old martial arts movies from like the 60s. A lot of that. But I'm just going to talk about
You would have loved to have gone see Speed Racer again.
I avoided that one, thank you. Well, it did have Lily Wachowski was there doing a Q&A and an introduction and everything. So,
oh really?
But I'm focusing on 4 movies that I did see, 4 main ones. The first one was Normal. Normal is the Bob Odenkirk movie. It's written by Derek Kolstad, who's also the writer of the first 3 John Wick movies, both Nobody movies, and then this one. This one, a lot of people looked at the trailer for this and thought this looks like another Nobody movie.
It does.
Yeah. It does. But I will say, I think it's a lot less Nobody and more of Hot Fuzz, just in terms of which I mean, you kind of get that feeling from the trailers a little bit, but the whole town is like a little something is off with the town, and shit goes down. But it is every bit as much as fun as Nobody. I'd say the action isn't quite as intense. I mean, this one wasn't done by like the 87 North guys who worked on Nobody, but the action is still well done. Although this one is not really a lot of fist fighting kind of hand-to-hand combat. It's a lot more gun plays and explosions and things like that. Bob Odenkirk, I think, does a great job again. He feels a lot kind of like the same character, except he really is just a normal guy in this one. He's not like this trained assassin from back in the day or whatever his previous life was. It's funny because he was there. Bob Odenkirk was there and did like a Q&A afterwards as well, and he was talking about how the reason he made Nobody, and then eventually moved on to this one here, is that he said he found out Better Call Saul was apparently super popular in Europe, and he's like, wow, this is like a big huge hit in Europe, and I have a lot of fans over there I didn't have before. And so he said he was out on bike ride one day and he was trying to think about, well, what kind of movie could I make? What could I make as a movie that people in international audiences would be interested in seeing, that language wouldn't be a barrier. And he's like, an action movie. I can do an action movie. So he called up his manager and said, don't laugh, I have an idea. And he had this idea, and so he got hooked up with Derek Kolstad, and they came up with this idea for Nobody and made that, and now he's moved on to Normal. Normal, I will say, I'd probably put it about on par with Nobody, maybe just a step below it, because I mean it's definitely a crowd pleaser. It's got lots of fun action sequences. It's got some good comedy to it. Like it's very much in that same kind of Hot Buzz vein. Didn't blow me away, but I enjoyed it for what it was. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 on that one.
Yeah, if you were to ask me like a bingo card list of like things that I thought would happen over the last like 10 years, Bob Odenkirk becoming an action star never, ever would have been on that list. And now here we are, his third action film. And now it's becoming, because of how both Nobodies and apparently how this one's going to be, now if he pops up in one, I'm like, oh yeah, of course, Bob Odenkirk. It's like never did you look at Bob Odenkirk going, action star. But it's
right, and I mean the cast beyond him, there's like Lena Headey has a very small part in it. Henry Winkler has a small part in it, but he's fucking hilarious. So I really enjoyed him in this movie. But so I would say definitely check this one out when it comes out.
That's cool. You got to actually see Bob, or did you leave before the Q&A?
No, I stayed for that. I stayed for his.
I was gonna say, it's Bob Odenkirk. You stay and say I got to see Bob Odenkirk in person. That's a pretty badass thing. So you said 3.5 for Normal.
I give that one a 3.5. Yeah,
3.5.
I enjoyed that. The next one I saw is actually a small independent movie called Yeti. Now this is a movie about a Yeti. It takes place. I didn't catch if they even said the exact year. It's got to be like late 40s, early 50s. It's after World War II. It's definitely like a period thing. It's back then. This is basically this expedition with some rich man and his navigator, his whole crew had been up in the Arctic, supposedly looking for, I think, oil is what it was. But they had disappeared. So they try to form this team. His son is basically the guy who disappeared. His son is basically trying to form this team to go and find them, supposedly, and look for them. And the main character is actually this cartographer, this navigator, who is the daughter of the guy who was on the expedition with the oil magnate. So basically, it's just kind of this, they form a group, they go out there, shit starts happening, people start getting killed off one by one, disappearing. They don't know what this creature is that's out there in the wild. We know it's a Yeti because it's the title of the movie, but they don't know that. But this is another one that, now this one, I have a hard time judging this one because it's like, if you judge it just as like this tiny little independent movie. It's actually fairly well done. I mean, the creature effects, I think you don't get to see the creature a lot. It's kind of done in a lot of darkness and quick shots. But I think the creature stuff is done very well. There's a few moments of gore that I think are very well done. There's some humor in it, which is probably actually one of my problems with the movie. Is I had trouble figuring out this movie's tone, because it was like there was too many humorous moments or jokes for it to be considered like a straight horror movie, but there wasn't enough for it to be a horror comedy. So it's kind of like I was trying to figure out what they were going for there. That was a little hard to deal with. But like I said, the jokes that were there I enjoyed. The gore I enjoyed. In between there, it tended to get a little bit slow at times, because I think part of that's just limited budget. Like we can blow our wad on these few scenes and stuff, but then in between is gonna be a lot of talking, a lot of inter-character development, which was decent. But I enjoyed it. I did only give it a 2.5. That's not to say I didn't like the movie. I think it's like I liked parts of it, and just other parts of it just seemed like they weren't quite doing it for me. The main star of it is a woman I'm not familiar with. Her name's Brittany Allen. She's done a few things. But it's got Corbin Burnson is in there. William Sadler is in there. They're both very kind of small parts in the movie because they were part of the initial expedition that went out. So no real stars in this one, but it's one that, if it pops up on, Netflix or something eventually, I'd check it out.
Okay.
My third movie, what? I'm going to skip one. I'm going to go to One Spoon of Chocolate. One Spoon of Chocolate is the new action movie from RZA. He directed and wrote it. It stars Shameik Moore, Blair Underwood's in it, R.J. Seiler is in it, Paris Jackson is in it. RZA, of course, who directed, I think his first movie he directed was The Man with the Iron Fists, and they did one called Cutthroat City, which I thought were both actually decent movies. I actually enjoyed Man with the Iron Fist. It's definitely a little cheesy at times, but I had a lot of fun with it. It knew what it was trying to be, just kind of a tribute to kind of those old style 60s and martial arts films that RZA loves so much. And this one was kind of like, it had some action to it, but it was a little bit more almost a social commentary kind of movie. It's not really a drama. There's definitely more action to it. It's almost a thriller at times, especially once you get into the last act. But this one actually I was surprised by, because I thought that the actual character work in this one was actually very well done, which doesn't surprise me too much because Cutthroat City was pretty good too. And I think that one also had Shameik Moore, come to think of it. And he hasn't done a whole lot of live action stuff. I mean, I know him from Dope, and a lot of people know him from the Spider-Verse films.
Yeah.
But other than that, he's not done a whole lot of live action stuff. So I'm glad to see, at least RZA is recognizing that he's worth paying attention to.
I want to say Dope is probably the only thing I've seen him in outside of Spider-Verse. So yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and then R.J. Seiler, I really love him in everything he does. He's great in this, but he's definitely like the supporting role. He's not the main character like Shameik Moore is, though. Basically, this is just a movie where Shameik Moore gets out of prison. He goes to live with his cousin somewhere in the South. I'm not sure if they even say exactly where it is in the South. Super racist community. There's people just outwardly, calling people all kinds of slurs and threatening them and threatening to beat people up with baseball bats and everything. So shit goes down. They get attacked. Eventually, it becomes a revenge flick, essentially, where Shameik Moore kind of, arms himself up and goes and kicks some ass. And it really is, it really is a lot of fun once he finally starts, going at it in the action and get, nothing feels better than watching, racists get their asses kicked. That's where I feel like things like Inglourious Bastards. There's nothing wrong. You love seeing Nazis get their due.
Would you see this as kind of like around the same realm or completely different than like Rebel Ridge? Because you're describing a little bit of Rebel Ridge here.
I'd say it's in the same vein as Rebel Ridge. I think this one gets a little bit more into not fantastical, but it's not as realistic as Rebel Ridge feels. Because this one feels very kind of over the top at times.
Whereas Rebel Ridge is more like Reacher level kind of action. This is more. It's not like sci-fi or anything. It's not like fantastical in that way. It's just in the way it's filmed and kind of the tone of the film is a little bit different. But Shameik Moore does a great job. I think there's some great action in this one. The only problem I have with the action is that kind of in the final scenes, especially, one of his favorite weapons is
this hammer. He was kicking ass with a hammer. And any other time, I'd have been cheering, going, "Oh my gosh, that's awesome! What he's fucking doing with a hammer." The problem is, I had just seen a different movie right before this, which I'll get into, which is fucking epic, and he uses a hammer. It seems to be his. So it was a weapon of choice at this festival, apparently. So I was a little less impressed by it just because of the circumstances.
Even in terms of this year, because in Pretty Lethal, which we reviewed, that one ballerina, she was using the hammer.
It's the year of the hammer, apparently.
Yeah,
that's what 2026 is. The year of the hammer. But no, I enjoyed this movie for the most part. I was actually impressed by Riz's direction and his writing for the most part. The very ending, I don't know if I completely liked the way it ended, but I was not going to spoil that for you here. But I enjoyed it. I gave this one 3.5 stars out of 5.
Okay.
Now, did not stick around. He was there for a Q&A as well. Actually, I was there. He did like an intro of it. I was obviously there for that. I did not stick around for the Q&A just because of, like I said, I had to catch a train back to my hotel. So.
Gotcha. And then, of course, the big movie you saw, which we were going to talk about it on our last episode of Movie Stars Chat about when the trailer came out, but you're like, I didn't even watch the trailer. I'm seeing it at the festival. I don't want to know anything. Just let's not talk. I'm like, all right, fine.
Yes.
But you got to finally see it. I have to wait till God knows how long.
I think it's May 29th.
Yeah, but I probably won't get it in my theaters. So I'll probably have to wait for it to eventually
June or July when it hits streaming.
Probably. Yeah. So I'm excited to hear about this review.
Yeah, no, this is the movie called The Furious. The Furious is, I believe, technically this one's Chinese, but it's all kinds of people involved in this. Some of the stars are recognized from like Indonesian action films, like The Raid. So I'm not sure. I think it's technically classified as a Chinese film. I think the main star is Chinese. This is another one kind of in the vein of The Raid and The Night Comes for Us, which of course you guys know how much we love around here. We had named an award after it, which
and the Shadow
might rename it. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say we probably are gonna have to rename. I said that during the award show. I was like, we probably need to come up with a new name because The Night Comes for Us is now a few years old now. But yeah.
Yeah. So this is one I actually didn't know a whole lot about it, except for that I was hearing that it's like, people are already calling it one of the best action movies of the decade, especially in terms of martial arts. I knew that it had some of the same people in it. It has Joe Taslim, who was in the Raid movies. He was also in That Come For Us. He was also in like Mortal Kombat. It has Yahya Ruhian, who is another guy from the Raid. You'd recognize if you saw his face. He was in this one. I think he was also in The Night Comes For Us. Yeah, I think he was in a small part.
Is it the guy with the long hair?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in Night Comes For Us.
Yeah. So and Star Wars Force Awakens, he was in that with Iko Uwais. But he's another one I recognize. Other than that, it actually has bit parts by a lot of famous. Somebody called it, I think, the Avengers of martial arts films, just because it had a lot of like these legends from the past. There's Gigi Yayan, who a lot of people aren't going to be familiar with, and some others. But it has a lot of big martial arts stars in it. But anyway, I heard this thing was brutal. I heard it was awesome. I didn't really know what it was, so I did watch. At the time, there wasn't a trailer, but there was like a 30-second clip from the movie, so I watched that. And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh, that's all I want to see. I'm going to see it. I don't need to see anymore. And especially when the trailer didn't drop until like a week or so before this festival, I was like, I'm not watching this trailer. So I was like, I'm a week away from it. I'll just go in fresh. This movie is fucking awesome. Okay.
What would you say is the general plot for this? Because it's not an English movie, so I mean, it's all in subtitles, right?
Actually, you'd be surprised. Actually, a surprising amount of this is in English.
Oh, really?
It's weird because they seem to go back and forth from English into Chinese. I don't know. Actually, I have the thing right in front of me. I can tell you. It's got all kinds of. It was spoken in English, Chinese, and Thai, are the 3 languages listed in this movie. But there definitely are subtitles when certain people are talking. But even when some of the these Asian people are just talking to each other, a lot of it's done in English. A lot of the signage and things around is in English. So I don't know if they did that to appeal to more of a worldwide audience and not
That's probably the hardest thing we've had when we try to get people to watch The Night Comes For Us and The Raid and Shadow Strays, is that it's a completely foreign movie, and it's like pulling teeth to get people to watch a non.
The thing is, I understand some people's resistance to subtitles, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter what people are saying in these movies. Okay, you're there for the action. To answer your question earlier, the very basic plot of it, the main character, whose name is Wang Wei, his daughter, very early in the movie, is kidnapped, and he's trying to get her back. He's trying to find the people that took her, and get her back. Joe Taslim's character is a journalist. He and his wife are both journalists. She had been investigating this rash of disappearing children who were getting kidnapped, and so she was trying to look into that. And then she disappeared. So that's why Joe Taslim is looking both for his wife, I think his wife or girlfriend, and as well as all these children that have been disappearing. The two of them end up eventually teaming up and going after this organization that has been taking these children. That's your basic plot of this movie. For the first 2 acts of this movie, I'm like, this is a lot of fun. I'm enjoying this. The action is kick-ass. The story is actually interesting. They've got some unique action sequences to it. It's tons of fun. But I was like, I'm not sure it's quite at the same level as like The Raid and Night Comes for Us. But it was there, but it wasn't quite at it. Then they enter the third act, which shit just goes crazy. I mean, that's kind of what happens in all these movies, whether it be The Raid or Night Comes for Us.
Yeah.
They enter that third act and shit just goes crazy. It's just like constant action, which just gets getting crazier and crazier, and they're building on it, and it goes on forever. And then the movie seems to hit this conclusion, but it doesn't, because there's a couple things I was actually thinking at the time, like there's some loose ends. What happened to this person and what's going on with that thing? I'm like, oh, because we're not done yet. Because then they enter, which basically amounts to a fourth act, which is essentially a half-hour fight scene involving for the most part, these 5 people. And this is fucking batshit insane. This might be one of the most fun, just overall fight sequences I've seen ever. So I'm hopefully not, blowing this up too much that people are going to go in with high expectations and be disappointed, but I don't think you will be. I also fully admit that I was seeing this in the right environment. I'm seeing it in a full theater, like packed, like every sold out theater of all people that are there with the same mindset as I am. And we were all cheering at the right moments, and it was so much fun. Watching it yourself at home, with one person, you might not get that kind of energy that the crowd gave you, but you're still gonna love the action scenes. It's creative. It's a lot of stuff I haven't even seen before. And just the whole concept of that final fight is kind of crazy, especially once another person enters into it. I'm tiptoeing around spoilers here, but just know that it's everything you want it to be. It's the action is insane. In the beginning, if you're not quite feeling it, stick around, because it just gets better and better and better as it goes on. And this one I gave 4 out of 5. If I was judging it purely by the action, it'd probably be 4.5. But as an overall film, give 4 out of 5.
And this comes out technically, what you said, like May 19th, May
29th, I believe was the date.
May 29th.
Yeah.
So it is technically a summer movie, but whether or not it gets a massive wide release or a small release, or will remains to be seen. This is definitely one of those movies that I am excited to see. But like I said, based off of where I am at, I don't know if I will be able to get to see this because of my theater.
I highly doubt this is going to get a wide. Yeah, I highly doubt this is going to get a wide release.
Yeah,
but I also think it's the kind of movie that once it does get released in its limited release, will very quickly then move on to like VOD and stuff, so you can watch it at home. Yeah. Now, I know that some of these films, like that, like the other one I wanted to see, that Ikatan or Dara, that one does not have any kind of distribution release date or anything announced yet. So I'm worried I might be waiting a while for that one. And I was worried that would be the case with this one too. But actually, between the time I bought the ticket and the time of the festival, they announced a release date for it and released that trailer. So this one you should be able to see, even if it's not in theaters, you should be able to see it by summer, sometime at the latest. Yeah. But this is definitely worth it. It's everything you want it to be. It's bloody, it's gory, it's creative. It's just fun.
I'm happy. That was the one thing, because like you told me, like, well,
I am too. If I had spent this money to go, because I had to get travel to and hotels in Chicago for a couple nights on top of the tickets and stuff, and I was like, if these better not suck.
Yeah, because like you told me what you were planning on seeing, and I was like, well, I want Normal to do well, but if he tells me Normal sucks, I'll be like, all right, oh well. But it's like The Furious was like the one I was like, he better not say this sucks, because like this is the one movie that I actually give a shit about that he's seeing this weekend.
Yeah, originally my plan originally was like, I'm going to come in and just going to come in for one day, and I made sure I was going to come in the day when I could see The Furious. I was actually going to speak one spoon of chocolate, and then I thought, well, if I see some of these other smaller things, then I'll catch those along the way too. But then I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll get a hotel and stay overnight, and then I could see Normal, which again is only coming out in a couple weeks, so it wasn't a big deal if I missed that. but I didn't even see Normal and also the Yeti because that night. So that was fun. I just wasn't able to stay that third day to see the ones today. Oh well.
Well, outside of the festival, there were 3 movies that came out this weekend in theaters and streaming. Super Mario Galaxy, I already have my review on the channel for that, so you guys can check that out. Brian had no interest in seeing that, so that's why I basically shot the review without him. And then, of course, the drama, which I've been hearing full parameters of. It's awesome to admit to it sucks. I have not got to see that yet. I don't know if we'll have a review for it or not, but I have not checked that out yet. And neither has Brian, obviously, because he was at the festival. But there was another movie that came out that I don't think either one of us was expecting anything, or maybe even expecting to see it. I think we both just were kind of like, I'll throw it on. We'll see what it is. And
this trailer, this is a movie I had heard nothing about. I hadn't even heard of this movie. Usually I at least hear something's being made. But it's like I saw a trailer for it. I'm like, that actually looks like it might be fun. It's a straight to Hulu movie, but it's got some people that I recognize. I'll check it out. But yeah, I did not expect what we got.
It's the Hulu movie, Pizza Movie. Now, the biggest draw for most people in this is that it's got Dustin from Stranger Things, Gatton Matarazzo. Did I say that right?
Matarazzo, yeah.
Matarazzo. Okay, so I mean, obviously, this is going to be drawing in the Stranger Things crowd. But the best way I could describe this movie and how the reason why I think it attracted me and Brian to check it out is that this reminds me of those old school, and when I say old school, I'm talking about like 90s, 2000s, like when you would be staying up late and you're watching TV and you go to like Showtime or Cinemax, and it's one of those just like random ass movies that pop up on the channel, like 100 Girls, for instance, which is a movie that Brian and I both love. It's just a random ass college movie. Now, usually in those movies, there's more nudity and stuff like that. There's not any in this movie. That's just like, you know what? By normal standards, this is probably not a good movie, but I had fun watching this, and that's what this movie felt like. So it was one of those things where, like, you know what? I'm sure this is probably not going to be good, but you know what? I want to go ahead and check it out. And this is a movie that, let's just say, so far, it's been out since Friday. I've already watched it twice. I have no problems going ahead and watching it a third time today if I wanted to. Brian has watched it about almost 2 times because obviously he was traveling and doing stuff. This might be one of the biggest surprise movies of the year in my eyes. Hulu so far, two great films already this year for Hulu. They are coming out swinging for the streaming award for us this year with this and Mike and Nick and Alice.
So last year they had Killer of Killers, so it's Hulu's.
Well, yeah, but it was just like that was it, and now it's like we're only in April. We got 2, really fun films. So Pizza Movie. I know the title sounds stupid. Like if anything about Hulu is they don't have really exciting titles. But basically, you have these 2 friends, Gatton Matarazzo, Dustin from Stranger Things, and then Sean Gambrone. Most people will know Sean from the Goldbergs, the TV show The Goldbergs. He plays the youngest son. AKA the narrator of the entire series. They are college roommates. There are certain things that are happening to both characters that causes them to kind of be black sheeps of the campus. And they basically just want a night where Sean, or his name's Montgomery, Montgomery just wants a quiet night. And of course, Gatton, who plays Jack, he's the party one. He's just like, no, he goes, I want to get drunk and I just want to turn my brain off and I don't want to think anything of it. But when the booze kind of falls down, they find this random drug that falls out of their ceiling. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to try something that just fell out of my ceiling in my dorm room. But they're mints, and they end up being drugs.
They researched it first. Come on.
Exactly. Well, they did. They did do their due diligence and research it, but not properly at the same time. And they basically both take this pill, and they go on this insane, batshit crazy ride. That what they didn't find out when they first took it, that if you don't eat food with it, mostly pizza, you're gonna have a bad trip. So it's now become a journey for them to try to get from their 3rd floor dorm room to the bottom and avoid all these obstacles to get this pizza so they don't have the worst trip of their lives. I know for most people, this probably sounds like a stupid movie, but I cannot help but just love this film. The hardest I've laughed all year, easily the funniest movie of the year. Love the cast. For the most part, even like not even the main leads, because you also have Lulu Wilson. Most people know her from like the Beckys and stuff like that. She's great in this. Sean Gambron is great in this. I think him and Gatton have great back and forth chemistry together. Even with Lulu, I think they all three work incredibly well chemistry wise. I think the dialogue is snappy. When this shit goes off the fucking rails with the drug, it is fun. This is just a fun movie. I also want to throw a shout out to Jack Martin, who plays Blake, who's like the head of the RA, Resident Advisors. This guy, he's got a presence on camera. Like his very, very first scene, the best way I can describe his very first scene, or not even his first scene, but his first scene where he like goes to a guy's dorm room, is very much like the opening scene of Inglourious Bastards. And he plays it, him and the other guy that he's talking to, they both play this so fucking well that I'm like, bro, fucking oh. I really love the presence that this Jack Martin guy had. But this movie is so much fun. And I remember as soon as I watched it, I think you had saw it before me, but I was like watching, I was like, Brian, please tell me you watched Pizza Movie. And he's like, yeah, of course I watched it. I was like, dude, I am so happy that I watched this film. Like, I am in such a good mood. This movie's making me smile. It's making me laugh. I don't want to. There's certain things I can't say because this is definitely a movie to go in as blind as you can. Don't watch the trailer, please. Because when this shit goes off the rails, it is insane. And there's one phase that literally had me in tears. I was laughing so fucking hard. And there's other moments too that are great too. But I absolutely love this film. I can't wait to rewatch this 5 more times this year. I have a feeling this will be my most watched movie. Like K-pop Demon Hunters was my most watched movie last year. I feel like Pizza Movie is going to be my most watched movie of the 2026 films. And I'm not ashamed of that. And this is a movie that most people need to see, and most people probably won't because it's not hitting the needles that people are going to want to grab and watch. The same thing with like Mike and Nick and Alice. This is probably on paper, if you're looking at like a style of what the movie, this is probably like a 3.5 star film. But my pure enjoyment of this and rewatchability and just loving what they did with this movie, it's a 4-star film for me, hands down. It's one of the most fun movies I've had fun watching this year. And even last year, I just remember I was like, yeah, I really loved some movies last year, but did I have this much fun watching those movies? Probably not. But yeah, that was my thoughts on it. Brian, back to you. What were your thoughts of Pizza Movie?
I don't know what Sean watched. This movie sucked. No, I'm kidding.
I know it didn't suck. That's why we're talking about it.
This one, like I said, I watched the trailer. I thought, this looks like fun, like typical kind of stoner comedy thing. I'm like, I enjoy some of those movies, so I'll check it out. I did not expect to love this movie as much as I did. Like I said, I watched it like pretty much immediately as it dropped on late Thursday night. I watched it like Sean, laughed my ass off, especially in the same phase that he was laughing it off at. And then I have started a second watch, but like we talked about, I've had a busy weekend. I'm finishing the rest of it tonight. I expect to probably watch this movie like you several more times this year because it's a fun movie. It's something I could put on in the background if I don't want to sit and watch the whole thing. It's easy. It's like 95 minutes long, something like that.
Yeah, so it's like 95 minutes. Yeah, it's quick.
Yeah, so it's like an easy, quick watch. And now Gaten's one of those guys who I'm like, I didn't know how his transition would be out of Stranger Things. Because, a lot of these kids appear in shows like that and they don't really succeed. Or maybe like years later when they're older, they kind of resurface with an adult career. But especially, Gaten, I'm like, I'm not even sure I can buy him as a college kid. He just looks kind of young, but had no problem with it by the time it started. Same thing with Sean, who I only know from, as far as I know, I only know him from Goldberg's, which I didn't even watch that much. But I was like, when I first saw the trailer, I'm like, wait, that voice sounds familiar. Who is that?
I did not recognize him. I didn't recognize him until he started talking because in Goldberg's, he wears glasses and he doesn't wear glasses in this. So it took me probably until not even the first scene. It probably wasn't until he started talking to Dust or Gatton that I was like, oh, Stranger or Goldberg's. And then I immediately got even more excited because I really, really love that kid too.
Those two had great chemistry together. I agree. I think Lulu Wilson, who like you, I know mostly just from the Becky and the Wrath of Becky, which I actually enjoy both those movies. I think she's really good in them. I think she works really well as well. once she joins up with these other two and kind of fills out the trio. I think they're great together. I heard one person, I think it was just some random review on Letterboxd. Somebody said basically this movie is if you took the phases of drugs section from, was it 21 or 20 Jump Street? I think it's 21 Jump Street.
21 Jump Street.
It basically turned that into a full movie. That's what this essentially is. Because they do the same thing. Like in the beginning, like they find out there's these phases to the drugs, which I'm not going to obviously spoil anything, but they describe these are these phases. And some of them you hear the name, you're like, what the fuck does that mean? But then by the time it hits, it's fucking hilarious. I think all the phases are good. There's one in particular that's really excellent. But yeah, this was just a great, pleasant surprise. I'm happy that we got this. Because we don't get a whole lot of comedies, much less ones that really make me laugh out loud. Much less ones that don't. And this is not like one of those, some of these comedies, especially in the post Judd Apatow's era, a lot of comedies decide halfway through, oh no, we have to become a drama. We have to have a serious problem where we have to solve it and the character growth. No, fuck that. This is just a straight comedy and it knows what it is, and I love it. I actually was just looking into it. The two directors of this, who directed and wrote it, are the same guys who wrote Over Your Dead Body. So they're having a good month. Apparently, I mean, we haven't seen that movie yet, but it's by all accounts, it's supposed to be good. So I was surprised to see that. But yeah, this is a movie that I would absolutely recommend that everybody check out. I mean, if you like comedies, if you like stoner comedies, any kind of comedy, watch this movie. At least give it a chance, because it is a surprising amount of fun. And this is a movie that I have not heard anybody talking about. I think you said like I'm the only one in your letterbox that has seen it besides you. I have two other people on mine that have seen it, but still, out of the grand scheme of things, that's nothing. I think a lot of people need to watch this movie because this is funny. And if you don't support comedies, they're not going to keep making comedies. Because all they make anymore, like the blockbuster movies or the tiny indie movies, or when they do make a comedy, it's just some throwaway thing on Netflix, which is usually like a teen relationship thing. This is just a straight comedy. It knows what it is, and it's a ton of fun. And you should all check it out.
What did you end up giving it?
At first watch, I gave it a 3.5 because I'm like, I like this movie. It's funny, but it's not, nothing spectacular as far as an overall film. But already halfway through my second one, I'm like, this is probably going to go to 4. So let's just call it 4.
I'm so happy you said that. But yeah, because I agree with what the one person said. It is basically the phases of the drug in 21 Jump Street through a whole movie, which that was probably one of the funniest parts in 21 Jump Street is when they went through those phases. Yeah. And it was like a little 3 to 5 minute part in there. Yeah. And this is at least, well, I won't say it's the full 90 minutes because obviously they had parts in between or the beginning and stuff like that, but it's probably about a good 70 minutes of them going through this ordeal. And it is just fun. I mean, there are some actors in it that aren't great. I would probably say the bullies are, but I mean, they're playing at archetypes. So it's not like
they're total caricatures of your typical bullies. Like especially even that Jack Martin, which I liked him in this role as well. But he was basically playing like in the old 80s movies where it's like the villain is like the head of the other fraternity or something. That's what he was in this movie. And
he totally is. But his face. And I was like, this dude's actually really good. Like, he's not going to win an award for this, but I'm watching him. I was like, dude, you have this presence.
He understood the assignment.
Yes, he understood the assignment, and he knocked it out of the fucking park. And the last time I could probably say that like a character like that did incredibly well was probably like Van Wilder with the terrorist's boyfriend in that movie. Like that guy understood the assignment. He doesn't get any recognition for it. Like I don't even know who the actor's name is, but I remember him going, dude, you were actually really good at being a dick. And this guy, Jack Martin, is so good at playing this role that you don't want him in it more than what he already is. He's already in it enough. And I would say, like, if there's a weak point of the movie, it's maybe that the RA's plot was like, where are we going with this? Like, it all makes sense. Like, everything falls in line, but it's like, maybe less of that. But when he's on screen, though, it's amazing. And I love his performance in it, especially where he ends up in the movie. I was like, everything about it is great.
I like this. I would love to see them. I mean, not necessarily a sequel, but I'd love to see maybe they could make some kind of sequel with Gaten and Sean teaming up again because I think, like you said, they have great comedy, or all three of them for that matter. I think these directors, as far as I know, I believe this is their first feature film that they've directed. I look forward to see what they do next because one of the things I actually noticed in this was the direction and the editing of it. There was a certain beats, a certain moments, the way they did something where it just work perfectly for the comedy. And so these guys definitely have something to watch.
They had the beat and the tone to have it just work really well, which is why the dialogue, even when they're just talking back and forth, there's one part where it's like if you don't have the subtitles, you might miss it, and it's like right at the very end, where they I'm just gonna say the dumpster scene. There's lines that Sean is saying off screen that are killing me, and if you don't have the subtitles on, you're probably not gonna hear them. So it's one of those like you might have to watch it a couple times. But I was like, I'm laughing because I'm seeing the dialogue and I can hear him. And he sounds so faint because he's off screen. It is hilarious. And I'm dying. Good news is not that we hold this as a gauge meter for us because you and I both don't agree with it a lot of the times. It is currently at a 77 on Rotten Tomato. So only on 26 reviews. So even the reviewers aren't really watching this much, but at least it's positive right now. So at least there's a general.
Well, even if you look at the Letterboxd spread too, it was skewed very positive. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you guys follow those things, take that and what we're seeing as a positive thing that you guys should definitely check this out. The only negative to this, if anything, is that the fucking ads for Hulu, kills the flow of the movie. Like you're in and all of a sudden you have a 2-minute fucking ad break, which unless you pay more, then you don't have to deal with that, which, good for you, but I don't have that luxury. But yes, so those are 5 quick reviews that we hope you check out. Now, obviously 4 of those movies are coming out in the future. So if you are interested in those reviews that Brian gave, then check those movies out when they come out. Pizza Movie, though, you have no excuse. It's on Hulu right now. You should definitely go check that out and have a blast watching it.
And then tell everybody else to go watch it.
And if not, Crumble Sauce. That's our new good afternoon. Yes. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you guys did, go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe on the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos that pop out on the Movie Crusaders. Of course, let's follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Also, don't forget to follow us on Spotify, Apple, Amazon. We're on there so you guys can listen to us if you cannot watch us. Give us a 5-star review on that. Coming up next, I was telling them during Super Mario, I don't know if any of the movies remaining in April are going to be anything that we're going to get on and talk about unless Lee Cronin's The Mummy completely blows us away. So probably the next video from us will probably be at the end of the month when we do our summer movie preview, where we will go over all the movies coming out in the summer, as well as give our box office predictions of where we will think the top films, money-wise, will land. Will I finally beat Brian, or will Brian win 3 years in a row? We'll find out. Probably not.
I'd like to point out in the Oscar predictions, I got all of them right. Just saying.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. I go with my heart on a lot of them. But we hope you guys enjoyed this. I am Sean Wasserkrug. That is Brian Michaels. Until next time, in case we don't see you, go watch some movies and go have some fun.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.